Roman culture built on the Greek culture that had preceded and paralleled it. Its polytheistic religious beliefs accounted for the renaming of most of the Greek gods into Roman equivalents. It adopted most of the Greek ideas about medicine, philosophy, and culture, as well as a woman's place. Check out episode 5, 800 to 400 BCE, Founding Myths and Women's Place, to learn more about these. But the Romans developed their own ideas. As Rome expanded, it increasingly became a warrior society where masculinity was strictly defined and men were measured on their successes as soldiers and property owners, which included women. In their private lives, this meant absolute control over their wives, children, and slaves. Absolute control means exactly what that sounds like, including the right to kill them without interference from anyone, not even the government. Absolute freedom became a part of the male identity. As the empire expanded and government control seeped into people's personal lives, so did the life and death power of the male head of household. Women participated in this warrior culture by raising brave sons and passing on the values of the warrior state to their children. Roman mothers were known to tell their sons off to war, "Return with your shield or on it." Yikes! The endless conquests of the Roman Empire also meant that hundreds of thousands of women and men were brought into the empire as slaves. Female slaves did domestic work, worked in brothels, were dancers, actresses, and were sometimes used for sex by their male owners. Slavery was deeply embedded in the culture of Rome, many viewing it as punishment from the gods or God. Despite the persistent beliefs that women should not be educated, upper-class Roman women capitalized on the need to build strong and educated warriors to justify their own educations as mothers and future wives of military leaders. But this was a little scary for some families who especially were very wealthy. In order to protect family fortunes, elite women were sometimes married off without transferring legal control to their husbands. This allowed them to manage their own fortunes. Imagine that. However, more often, legal control just remained with their father or previous male guardian. During the reign of Augustus, he passed a law that stated freeborn women who bore 3 or more children were free from guardianship. Otherwise, women were under the control of a man. Little changed for the average woman in regard to her contribution to the public sphere and intellectual prospects. Women were educated enough to serve the home and rear their children. Male contemporaries remained staunchly opposed to women's education. Given that wealth in Rome led to greater male education, there is significant evidence to suggest that the ratio of literate women actually declined. Titus Livy, one of the first Roman historians, stated, "A woman's mind is influenced by little things." Publius Syrus said, "A woman who meditates alone meditates evil." Another wrote his misogyny in a poem. But out of all plagues, the greatest is untold, the book-learned wife, in Greek and Latin bold. If the scholars of the era held such hostile views of women thinking, let alone writing, there was little possibility of mainstream training, recognition, and archiving of female achievements. Yet we still know a lot about women of this period, notably the most elite of the elite women. Their power or proximity to power meant that their lives and stories would be recorded.